Listen to me, when God is about to open a door, you will feel pressure. You will feel like everything around you is collapsing. You will feel misunderstood. The people you thought would support you, gone. The plan you thought would work, shattered. The dream you were chasing looks further than ever. But I came to tell somebody today that's not the end, that's the beginning, because the enemy doesn't fight what isn't a threat. You hear me? If you're under attack, if you're stressed, if you feel like quitting, you are close, closer than you've ever been. When that pressure builds up, when the fire gets hotter, when the tests get heavier, it's not punishment. It's preparation. See, God doesn't open doors for people who ain't ready to walk through them. You want the platform, you want the influence, you want the success, you want the miracle. Then you better be ready to carry the weight that comes with the blessing. Here's how you know a door is coming. Delay hits your life. Everything slows down. People start doubting you. You start doubting yourself. The storm comes. The storm doesn't mean you're in the wrong place. It means you're almost at the right place. Let me say it again. When you're under pressure, when life is quiet, when the room goes dark, God is working behind the scenes. You don't need the crowd to believe in you. You need to believe in what God put inside you, because sometimes the door opens after the last no, after the last tear, after the last time you almost gave up. That's when it breaks open. But here's the catch: God's gonna test your hunger. Are you still gonna show up when nobody claps for you? Are you still gonna grind when nobody sees you? Are you still gonna worship when nothing is going right? Because faith isn't proven in good times. It's proven in the valley. I'm talking to the person who's tired, who's worn down, who's asking, God, where are you? He's closer than he's ever been. Don't you quit now. Don't you settle now. Don't you walk away. That pressure you're feeling, that rejection, that silence, it's not the end, it's the doorway. And I promise you, when God opens that door, it's not just for you. It's for everyone watching, for everyone who said you couldn't do it. For every little boy or girl who needs to know it's possible. Your obedience is somebody else's breakthrough. So keep pushing, keep praying, keep praising, because when God is about to open a door, everything around you will look like it's falling apart. But it's not falling apart, it's falling into place. When you're on the verge of something big, something divine, something life-changing, the pressure will always show up first. Before the door opens, before the blessing hits, before the opportunity presents itself, the weight gets heavier. The confusion gets thicker. The doubt gets louder. That's the universal sign pressure. Not just a little inconvenience, not just a bad day. I'm talking about the kind of pressure that makes you question everything. Pressure that makes you look up at the sky and ask, why me? Pressure that squeezes your faith, that tests your commitment, that makes you consider walking away from everything you've been working on. See, pressure isn't a punishment, it's a sign. It's a signal that you're nearing something sacred, that something is shifting in the spiritual realm before it ever manifests in the physical. Think about childbirth. The pain always comes before the delivery. The contractions get more intense, more frequent, more unbearable. But that's how you know new life is about to come forth. In the same way, when you're about to step into your next level, your next calling, your next miracle, the contractions of life intensify. The people around you might not understand it. They might see you breaking down and think you're losing it. But what they don't see is that heaven is aligning something behind the scenes. This pressure shows up in your mind. It makes you question if you're really called. It makes you wonder if you're enough. You start seeing other people succeed, and you're still grinding in the dark, still getting no recognition, still being overlooked. That's pressure. You wake up every morning with weight on your chest. You show up, but you're exhausted. You pray, but you don't feel anything. You do the right thing, but nothing moves. That's not a curse. That's not failure. That's pressure, divine pressure. Sometimes that pressure comes in the form of resistance. Every time you take a step forward, something pushes back. Your finances get tight. Your relationships get rocky. You start losing friends, you face betrayal, you get passed up for the opportunity. That's not coincidence. That's the atmosphere shifting because your blessing is too big to just slide in unnoticed. That door God is opening, it's not a small door. It's not an ordinary door. That's why the pressure is extraordinary. Pressure is God's way of preparing you. It's spiritual weight training. He's putting resistance on you to strengthen your character. Because the door you're about to walk through isn't just about talent, it's about resilience. You can't carry the blessing if you don't have the endurance. That pressure is building something in you. It's making you stronger, wiser, deeper. It's teaching you how to stand when everything's trying to knock you down. It's teaching you how to worship even when you don't feel anything. It's teaching you how to trust God when nothing makes sense. The enemy knows you're close. That's why the attack is so specific, so personal. The enemy doesn't come after people who aren't a threat. He's not wasting his energy on people going nowhere, but you. You've got purpose, you've got oil, you've got a call on your life. So when that pressure hits, understand this: it's not just pressure, it's confirmation. It's evidence that something is on the way. The enemy is trying to break you before you get there. He wants to wear you down, to make you quit right at the edge of breakthrough. But if you push through the pressure, if you don't give in, that door has to open. Sometimes pressure reveals what's real. When things are easy, everybody can pretend to be strong. Everybody can say they have faith. But when pressure hits, the truth comes out. Pressure shows who's really committed. It shows who's really hungry. It separates the fans from the followers, the interested from the invested. That pressure will expose every crack in your foundation. And that's a good thing, because God is not going to put new blessings on a broken structure. He's letting the pressure reveal what needs to be healed, what needs to be pruned, what needs to be rebuilt. Pressure will strip you. It will humble you. It will make you confront things about yourself that you didn't want to face. Your pride, your fear, your impatience, your reliance on people instead of God. Pressure brings all of that to the surface, and it's not to shame you. It's to prepare you. God doesn't want you to enter the next season carrying the baggage of the last one. That door you're about to walk through, it demands a version of you that's free, that's focused, that's refined. You've got to stop looking at pressure like a problem. It's a process. It's part of the journey. Diamonds don't form without it. Oil doesn't flow without crushing. Gold doesn't get purified without fire. So what makes you think your calling won't cost you something? What makes you think you'll enter that next level without some pressing? The greater the promise, the greater the pressure. That's how God filters out the ones who aren't ready. Everybody says they want the door, but not everybody's built to handle what's on the other side of it. That's why the pressure is necessary. You've got to shift your perspective. Stop praying for God to remove the pressure and start asking Him to give you the strength to grow under it. You're not being buried, you're being planted. There's a difference. It's dark, it's lonely, it's uncomfortable, but you're about to sprout. You're about to break through. You're about to rise. But first, you've got to survive the pressure. And the crazy part, that pressure is the indicator. It's the proof that something is happening. You're not stuck, you're in process. You're not defeated, you're in development. That's what pressure does. It molds, it shapes, it forges, and the more intense it gets, the closer you are. That's why some of the hardest days come right before the biggest shifts. The door doesn't open in peace, it opens after the storm, after the battle, after the pressing. That's why pressure is not your enemy, it's your signal. Isolation often precedes elevation. Before God lifts you up, He pulls you back. Before He shows you off, He hides you. This is a principle woven deep into the lives of those chosen for something greater. You don't get elevated in the crowd. You get elevated in the quiet, in the lonely seasons, in the hidden places where no one is clapping for you, no one is texting you, no one is reposting your quotes or celebrating your grind. It's just you, the silence, and God, and in that silence something starts to shift. Isolation is uncomfortable. It feels like rejection. It feels like abandonment. It feels like you did something wrong. You used to have people around. You used to have a circle. You used to feel like you belonged. But now, it's like people don't call anymore. They don't invite you. They don't check in. And what's wild is it's not always people hating on you. Sometimes God removes people not because they were enemies, but because they were too loud for the level you're going to. They had too much access to the version of you He's trying to evolve. When you're being prepared for elevation, God will isolate you to fine-tune your hearing. You can't hear destiny over distraction. You can't hear purpose through popularity. So He clears the room. He clears the feed. He clears the noise. He quiets everything so you can finally hear the one voice that matters, His. That's why you're feeling the disconnection. That's why you're not vibing with people like you used to. It's not that you're bitter. It's not that you're better. You're just growing. You're shifting. You're transforming, and isolation is the cocoon. You think a butterfly is born in the open. No, it's born in darkness, in a place nobody sees, nobody claps, nobody notices. That caterpillar goes into the cocoon, and everything it was begins to die. The legs that crawled, the vision that was limited, the smallness it once accepted, all of that breaks down in the hidden space. And when it emerges, it's not just different, it's unrecognizable. That's what isolation does. It strips the old identity, it crushes the false confidence, it pulls you away so you can grow in a way that can't be tampered with. You've got to stop mislabeling your season. You think you're being punished. You think you're being forgotten, but what if this isolation is God's protection? What if it's God saying, before I elevate you, I need to detox you? Detox you from people pleasing, detox you from relying on applause, detox you from needing validation to know you're valuable. If he elevated you before isolation, you'd confuse fame with favor. You'd think popularity means purpose, but when you've been alone with God and he elevates you, you'll know where the strength came from. You'll know who kept you sane when nobody else checked on you. You'll know it wasn't the post, the followers, or the feedback, it was his grace alone. Elevation is heavy, and if you're not anchored, you'll fall the moment you rise. That's why isolation is part of the process. You think David got anointed in front of a crowd. No, the prophet found him in the field, away from everybody. Moses had to leave the palace and go into the wilderness. Jesus, before launching his public ministry, went alone into the desert. Isolation is a sacred space. It's not punishment, it's process. It's the spiritual gym where your faith gets conditioned, your mind gets renewed, and your motives get purified. In isolation, God begins to expose things in you that wouldn't surface in the crowd. Pride, comparison, insecurity, fear, all that stuff you've been hiding under your busyness, under your relationships, under your image. It starts to rise when it's just you and silence. And it's in that silence that healing begins. You start confronting yourself. You start praying not because it's trendy, but because it's survival. You start listening, not just speaking. You get raw. You get real. That's when transformation hits. And don't expect people to understand your isolation. Don't expect them to get why you're not as available, why you're not chasing the same things, why your conversations have shifted. When God isolates you, he cuts the umbilical cord of comfort. He starts making you uncomfortable with what used to satisfy you. Old habits feel hollow. Shallow talk feels like noise. You start craving depth, truth, purpose, and that shift makes people uncomfortable, especially if they're not growing with you. Sometimes God isolates you not just to grow you, but to protect what he's planting in you, because the vision is still fragile. The dream is still forming. The identity he's building in you isn't ready to be exposed to opinions and outside pressure, so he keeps it hidden. He keeps you hidden, and that hiddenness doesn't mean you're not gifted. It doesn't mean you're not called. It means the root system is still being developed, because elevation without depth leads to collapse. But when the roots are deep, the storm can hit and you'll still stand. You don't build legacy in the spotlight. You build it in the shadows. You build it in your daily habits. You build it in the unseen hours. That's where discipline is forged. That's where self-control is strengthened. That's where your calling gets refined. You don't need a platform to prepare. You need obedience. You don't need a crowd. You need consistency. And when God sees that you've been faithful in the quiet, he'll trust you with the loud. This is why you can't rush the season. You can't fake your way out of isolation. You can post like everything is good. You can act like you're in control. But God knows the difference between fruit and filters. He's not looking for hype. He's looking for heart. He's not watching your stories. He's watching your secret life. What are you doing when no one's watching? How are you praying when there's no mic in your hand? What's your mindset like when the spotlight is off? If you're in a season of isolation, don't resist it. Let it do its work. Let it stretch you. Let it empty you of the things you can't carry into your next season. God's not trying to isolate you to punish you. He's isolating you to insulate you, to build something in you that the world can't shake. He's silencing the external so he can speak to the internal. He's removing the temporary so you can receive the eternal. And when it's time for the elevation, you won't just go up, you'll stay up, because you were built in the dark. Delay is not denial, it's preparation. One of the hardest things for us to understand in life, especially when we're driven, focused, and prayerful, is that just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not going to. We live in a world that celebrates speed. Everyone wants everything fast, fast success, fast healing, fast money, fast results. But God doesn't operate on human timelines. He's not controlled by your clock or your calendar. He's not in a rush. He's in control, and when something is delayed, it's not because he forgot about you. It's because he's getting you ready for what you prayed for. See, we pray bold prayers. We ask for big things. We ask for doors to open, for opportunities to come, for relationships to be restored, for blessings to fall. But what we don't always realize is that some of the things we're asking for require us to be someone we're not yet. Not because we're not worthy, but because we're not ready. Delay isn't about punishment, it's about positioning. God delays things because he knows timing is everything. The right thing at the wrong time can destroy you. A blessing before maturity can feel like a curse, so God holds it back, not because he's withholding good from you, but because he's shaping you for what's next. Delay will test your heart. It will expose your motives. It will reveal whether you're chasing purpose or chasing applause, whether you want the platform or the power, whether you trust God's process or you just trust the promise. Delay teaches discipline. It teaches patience. It teaches surrender. You learn how to keep showing up even when there's no evidence that anything is changing. You learn how to dig deep into your faith. You learn how to say, even if it takes longer than I thought, I still believe. Sometimes we see other people getting their breakthrough while we're still stuck in waiting mode. That's one of the most difficult things to handle, watching others get what you've been praying for, watching people walk through doors you've been knocking on. But comparison in a season of delay will always lead to discouragement. You have to remember, their timing isn't your timing. Their lane isn't your lane. What God has for you is not lost. It's not late. It's being prepared just like you are. The delay isn't just about the destination. It's about the transformation. God doesn't just want you to arrive. He wants you to arrive whole, strong, wise, and ready to sustain what's coming. Because elevation without preparation leads to collapse. That business you're praying for, it's not just about the money, it's about managing people, pressure, and purpose. That relationship you want, it's not just about love, it's about commitment, growth, and sacrifice. So God delays the answer to develop the capacity to build you on the inside before blessing you on the outside. Look at the lives of every major figure in Scripture, and you'll see a pattern of delay before destiny. Joseph had a dream as a teenager, but he went through betrayal, slavery, and prison before stepping into the palace. David was anointed king as a boy, but he went back to tending sheep before facing giants and waiting years before taking the throne. Even Jesus spent 30 years in preparation for a ministry that lasted 3. That's the principle. Delay refines the purpose. It molds character. It tests endurance. Delay is frustrating because we live with expectation. We know we were made for more. We feel it. We sense it. But nothing around us looks like what we saw in our spirit. And in those moments, doubt creeps in. Questions rise. Did I miss God? Did I mess something up? Is it too late? Am I disqualified? But delay is not a rejection notice. It's a divine pause. God is still writing. Just because you haven't seen the chapter turn doesn't mean the story is finished. You don't throw away the book just because the plot takes time to develop. You keep reading. You stay in it. Delay will make you wrestle. It'll bring you to your knees. It'll bring up every insecurity, every fear, every weakness. But in that wrestling, something sacred happens. You get stripped of your dependency on outcomes. You stop serving God for what he does, and you start loving him for who he is. You learn to worship while waiting, to praise while questioning, to trust while not understanding. And that kind of faith can't be faked. It's forged in the fire of delay. Sometimes the delay isn't about you at all, it's about the people connected to your destiny. God is aligning things that you can't see. He's working behind the scenes in places you haven't even thought of yet. He's making sure that when you arrive, the room is ready, the hearts are ready, the environment is ready. That kind of alignment takes time. You might be ready, but they're not, or maybe they're ready, but you're not. Delay is God's way of syncing the unseen with the seen. It's divine orchestration, and during the delay, you have a choice. You can wait bitter, or you can wait better. You can complain, or you can prepare. You can sit idle, or you can grow. Delay is not a dead zone, it's a development zone. It's not wasted time, it's invested time. Every tear you've cried, every prayer you've prayed, every moment you've stayed faithful in the dark, it all counts. Heaven sees it, God honors it. The delay is not the end, it's the preparation before the unveiling. Delay will either discourage you or develop you, and which one it does depends on your perspective. If you view delay as denial, you'll quit, you'll walk away, you'll lower your expectations. But if you view delay as development, you'll lean in, you'll go deeper, you'll use the time to sharpen your skills, to train your spirit, to build your foundation. Because when the time comes, when the door finally opens, you won't be scrambling to get ready. You'll already be ready. You don't get stronger without resistance. You don't grow without tension. Delay creates the internal pressure that builds the external greatness. What you become during the delay is often more important than what you receive after it. God is after the kind of maturity that doesn't just know how to receive a blessing, but how to steward it, multiply it, and use it to bless others. That kind of maturity takes time. Delay will often make you feel like nothing is happening, but in the spirit, everything is moving, roots are growing, character is forming, wisdom is increasing, the vision is maturing. You might not see the progress, but that doesn't mean it's not there. A seed buried in the ground doesn't look like much, but under the soil, it's bursting with life. That's what delay does. It buries you so you can grow unseen, protected from pressure until you're strong enough to break the surface. Disruption always comes before elevation. When God is about to open a door, one of the clearest signs is that everything familiar starts falling apart. The things you used to depend on stop working, the people you used to lean on start drifting, the plans you thought were secure start collapsing. Life begins to feel unstable, unpredictable, uncomfortable. And your first instinct might be to panic, to question, to retreat. But what you need to understand is that disruption is not the enemy, it's the announcement. It's the setup before the shift. God never elevates without shaking something first. We get so attached to comfort zones, we build routines, relationships, and realities around what we know. But when God is calling you to a new level, He's also calling you to leave something behind. Elevation requires separation, and separation requires disruption. If He didn't shake it, you wouldn't move. If He didn't break it, you'd settle. If He didn't allow the frustration, you'd never stretch. That's why disruption isn't just allowed, it's orchestrated. He's not trying to harm you, He's trying to prepare you. He's not dismantling your life, He's disrupting the version of your life that's too small for where you're going. Disruption is often misunderstood. We think things are going wrong. We think we're being attacked. But many times, it's not the devil, it's God rearranging the pieces. You lost the job, disruption. The relationship ended, disruption. The opportunity closed, disruption. You're praying for open doors, but you're angry when God removes walls. What you don't realize is that sometimes the door He's about to open can't be seen until the structures you've built around yourself fall. Disruption clears the clutter, it tears down the idols, it forces you to look up when all you've done is look around. It's in the moments of disruption that your faith gets tested for real. Not when everything's going your way, but when the rug gets pulled and you're standing in the middle of broken plans, asking God what's next. That's where trust is built. That's where faith matures, because elevation doesn't just require more from your hands, it requires more from your heart. You've got to be willing to release what's good to receive what's greater. You've got to be able to stand in the unknown without panicking, without retreating, without giving up on the word you heard just because your world looks different. Disruption strips away illusions. You start to realize who's really for you. You see what's been holding you back. You become aware of your patterns, your cycles, your attachments. Disruption exposes. It brings everything into the light. And it doesn't feel good. It's not supposed to, because disruption isn't about comfort, it's about clarity. God will let your comfort break so you can get clarity about your calling. He'll allow your plans to fail so you can finally pay attention to His purpose. You thought the pain meant you were off course, but what if the pain is proof you're on the brink? You've got to shift your perspective. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this shifting in me?" Disruption isn't random. It's strategic. The timing, the pressure, the discomfort, it's all a part of the design. God shakes what can be shaken so that what cannot be shaken may remain. That means anything in your life that wasn't built on solid foundation will get tested. And when it falls, don't try to rebuild it the same way. Don't try to resurrect what God removed. Don't grieve over the thing that's standing in the way of the door He's trying to open. There's a reason storms come before clarity. There's a reason God sometimes allows chaos before construction. He's tearing it down to build it up right, and not just around you, but in you. Because elevation is internal before it's external. You have to become the kind of person who can handle what you're praying for. You can't take old systems, old mindsets, old habits into a new season. So disruption forces you to confront what you've been tolerating. It makes you examine what's no longer aligned. It requires you to clean house spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and even physically. You've got to learn to cooperate with the disruption. Don't resist what God is trying to remove. Don't cling to what He's trying to cut. The faster you surrender, the faster the shift. He's not trying to take something from you, He's trying to make space for what's next. That door you've been waiting for, it needs room to open, and that means something's got to move, something's got to break, something's got to change. Disruption is God's way of moving what you won't move yourself. Sometimes the disruption doesn't come from outside, it comes from within. You start feeling restless. You start feeling like you don't belong in places you used to love. You outgrow conversations, atmospheres, environments. You can't explain it, but you know something's different. That's not confusion, that's divine agitation. That's your spirit recognizing it's time for a shift. Don't ignore it. Don't suppress it. That internal disruption is often the first sign that something external is about to open. Your spirit always knows before your surroundings catch up. There's something powerful about learning how to worship in the middle of disruption, not just praising God when the door opens, but praising Him while everything's shaking. That's the kind of faith that confuses the enemy. That's the kind of posture that accelerates transition. Because you're telling God, "I trust you even when I don't understand you. I trust you when the plan is falling apart. I trust you when the people are walking away. I trust you when the pressure is rising." That's when you prove you're ready, not when you're comfortable, but when you're committed in chaos. Elevation doesn't feel like elevation at first. It feels like loss. It feels like confusion. It feels like being stretched in every direction. But if you stay faithful through the disruption, if you don't abandon the process just because it hurts, you'll look back and realize the shakeup was the setup, the breakdown was the blueprint, the closed doors were the construction zone. You weren't being destroyed, you were being developed. You weren't being rejected, you were being redirected. The enemy wants you to think that disruption is a sign you're failing, that things falling apart means God forgot about you. But the truth is, disruption often means you've been noticed, you've been marked. God's got His hands on your life, and He's not about to let you settle. That's why things had to shake. That's why comfort had to go. That's why doors had to close, because if He let you stay where you were, you would have missed what was next. Disruption brings clarity, refines focus, and forces dependence. It reminds you that you were never in control to begin with. That all your plans, your timelines, your calculations, they're not the source of your breakthrough. God is, and He'll allow whatever needs to happen to make sure you never forget that. Disruption may feel like chaos, but it's really just controlled demolition. God is tearing down what's unstable so He can build something unshakable.